want to draw people's attention to some articles that were on the Silver and Black Bride page. Here's a new fan post, and it mentions our first round pick, Kolton and what that means. Again, that three-letter dirty word has come out again. It's called zone blocking. I don't let anyone else read this whole article. I'll just give you some of the thoughts that are in this article. And there's speculation, a lot of speculation, that Donald Penn could be done. It speaks about John Gruden and some of his quotes about, when Cable was hired, he was asked, "Does this mean you're going to do the zone blocking? You're going to go back to that?" Raider fans wanted the power blocking because they believe that is the key to success and how the personnel is in place for that. And he said it doesn't necessarily mean that. He needs to get the right players in position, and he mentioned a fullback, running back. I think that was before Martin was signed, who is someone that came out of that school. But also Marshawn Lynch, of course, with Seattle, being coached by Tom Cable. Now, I'm surprised people did not comment in that whole section. I don't think I've seen anyone comment on this, but there was an older post. Here it is right here. I have to scroll back up. And this is dated January 15th. And this person, Tal Cockerham, he writes a great article, I think, that explains what the Raiders are probably going to do. You see how I've highlighted it. They're going to use a technique. It's a zone blocking technique called pin and pull. There's a lot of power concept behind it. And this is what the Raiders used in 2016. Now, I'm no football expert. I am a fan. Zone blocking is far more complex than just block the guy in front of you. It's trying to take advantage of the defensive players and get them out of position, get them pinned in. As you can see in this video, I'd recommend as well, just look up pin and pull technique. And basically they set the edge, and the tackles, this is why they want athletic tackles, they swing around and come out here, and the defenders are pinned on the edge here, and they're trying to make a lane. If they were going to the right side, for example, they're trying to make a lane. I can't really explain this the way other people can, because it's much more complex than just saying they're going to set the edge, because each defender works in tandem. Each one next to each other works in tandem, and it depends on how the defense reacts. So it's way more complex depending on how the defense attacks, which way they're going, and it will depend on, will determine which defender is going to go on that player. But the offensive tackles often break out. For example, this left tackle right here who'll come up here, and he will be trying to engage one of these linebackers that are going to be coming over here. If it's going to be a right side play, they're going to be moving this way, and he's going to try to block them off. In other words, he's pinning them. He's going out there to pin him and to block him off from getting into the running lane. But it's highly complex. But this is a simplified version of zone blocking. Don't take my word for it. Watch the video, the person's video. I'm not going to play the whole video in my video. I'm just talking about it. But you see this first article, I mean, this article of today, or yeah, that was responding to the draft, is basically pointing out just how much Tom Cable and John Gruden wanted these guys in here. Now, related to this article, the old article from January 15th, it also mentioned Tom Cable and Marshawn Lynch in their Super Bowl year, and they used a lot of pin and pull blocking. And who did they have for personnel, and who did they bring in? Brendo Giacomini, the right tackle the Raiders brought in, and was the worst ranked tackle in football last year, I guess. He was on the Texans last year. But he's been brought in as a tutor to one of the offensive linemen to play that position. Now that has not been settled, because these young players, they have no experience at all in the NFL. So can they get them up to speed? I think next week or something is going to be the rookie camp. I don't know what date it is. I know it comes up pretty fast, and then everything just dies down for football for a while, and they all go off and go on their summer vacation, and then they come back. Let's not waste the summer. Let's rush the summer, but that's how it's going to happen. And they're not going to have that much experience. And I don't know what their experience, as far as Miller, how he played in UCLA, and the other guy, Parker, because they've been brought in for this. I agree with this article in the sense that it's clear signs that this is the type of running style they want. And this guy claims, some people on this board claim to be insiders, because we don't know who they are. I mean, you could look at this guy's name. He's just calling himself Raider Code. He could be anyone. Maybe this is Tom Cable. Yeah. But he's claiming that the Raiders tried to trade Jackson, the guard, because he's less athletic than Hudson and Osamelli, and they tried to trade him. So I can see that, but Raider fans are going to go, if they thought they were blowing a gasket when they picked Miller, when they wanted defenders, but they're going to really blow a gasket if they don't understand that perhaps this zone blocking is not necessarily a bad thing if the right people are in position. This is why they brought in new people. In the article dated on January 15th, it mentions, yeah, we got, say we got, what's his name? The fullback that the Raiders got rid of. Olawale. Yeah, we got him and everything. But he did better in power run blocking. That's why he was gone. Seth Roberts was one of our best pass blocking wide receivers. But I don't know this for sure, but I suspect they want to trade him because they believe Bryant, or whatever they just brought in, is going to be better for that type of technique. Because oftentimes tight ends or wide receivers are used to set the edge. They're part of the blocking scheme. That's why they brought in all those tight ends. That's going to be very important. And sometimes they will use an extra offensive lineman, and I guarantee if he doesn't get the starting job, let's just say these these young guys get in there right away. Giacomini is definitely going to be your extra offensive lineman. And the latest article here is talking about that the next guys to get rid of could be Alexander and the other guy, Kirkland or something. I'm not sure about that. So, like I said, it's a little different than the zone blocking that Downham was using. And just try to understand it. I've watched the videos, and it's still complex. It's a complex type of blocking scheme. It's not easily understood right away because you can't just watch one video. Like I said, it's not as simple as just doing it and it just works. You have to react to the defender. How the defender reacts to you, or how he's going to rush the pass or try to go after the running back, that's going to dictate how that offensive line is going to react. But this is the blocking scheme the Raiders used a lot in 2016, and they were 6th in the league. So, and also Marshawn Lynch is very experienced in this sort of technique. And it mentions that before he became more patient with zone blocking, that Cable used that technique, the pin and pull, to maximize and to be a compromise. So this is a strong likelihood it's going to be something like this, or something in between. But then again, if they start replacing all the personnel that they might feel is in their way, then it becomes more likely it's going to be a zone blocking football team. It's not going to sit well with some people because of Downing last year. And who can blame them? I think there's another breakdown of how the Raiders switched the blocking technique. I don't know if it was totally all power blocking in the end of the year with Marshawn Lynch started running better. But that's something to look into. The whole idea is to get that running game going again. And that's what they did in 2016. There was a lot of that. I remember there was a lot of, a lot of draws. A lot of delayed running plays. And I remember a lot of throwing the ball first, too. And the Raiders definitely are set up to throw the ball. They don't have these wide receivers being brought in to block, necessarily. I don't even know, never even really assessed Cooper how good of a blocker he is. And one of the reasons Crabtree might be gone is because of his blocking. He's too concerned about his chain. I imagine Jordy Nelson has had some experience in blocking, but I hear he's not that good of a blocker. He's not your best wide receiver blocker type. They brought in a lot of blocking tight ends. I remember a game Gruden for the Raiders. He just ran the ball the whole time. There could be games like that where he's just frustrated with the way it's going, and he just wants to run the ball down their throat and just demoralize them and beat them, break them. Quite possible, quite possible. And that is Raider football in many ways. I mean, don't always think it's always throwing the ball. That's when they were some of the worst teams they ever had. during a lot of those years with Jay Schrader, having wide receivers who couldn't catch. I mean, that's Raider football is it's running the ball, using big fullbacks, and you're gonna see it. But I thought I'd just make this quick video just to so people don't flip out when they start hearing about this. I don't know how many writers are going to write about this because they're just panning the Raiders' whole draft. But take that draft with a grain of salt. You didn't like who they were picking, but the guy they needed, they thought would be the best for this, they had to pick right there because the Patriots were going to take him 8 picks later. I mean, there's only so much flexibility you could do right there. And you say, oh, we need these defenders. What defender? People have mentioned, like, safety. They brought in a bunch of safeties. And there's Obi from last year that didn't play. They're hoping Obi, I believe, is going to be a safety. And they just drafted Kyle Joseph at number 14th a couple years ago. So, who are you getting as a safety? You getting rid of Kyle Joseph? You got some of these other safeties you brought in. I know Nelson was brought in. You think that's such a bad thing, maybe. But he's got his old coach with him now. So, I don't know. I don't know where you're going with that 15th pick or 10th pick. Are you going with Edmonds? You're gonna have a starting rookie middle linebacker that's only 19 years old. You think you're just gonna be able to plug him right in? You better hope they get Bowman. Well, they might be using that other guy. I don't know what his name is. Whitehead is or something. I can't remember. They might be using one of those guys. They might bring in Bowman. Who knows? Especially if they stop moving players. There's definitely gonna be some turnover. They're not done yet. They're probably exploring trades right now. But this article makes sense that there's gonna be changes. But who do you think they were gonna select right there, and what makes you so disappointed that the guy they didn't select there, you thought that they didn't do something better later? Is it because a middle linebacker wasn't brought in? Well, the middle linebacker they might have been targeting at 10 was taken by Chicago at 8. So where are they going to go with this middle linebacker? They just had to get a middle linebacker when Bowman's sitting out there? Still? You didn't like Bowman last year? He's the best bet at middle linebacker for the Raiders. So the Raiders later on in the draft, they get some defensive lineman help, including edge rusher and 2 interior defenders. That was a bad thing. They didn't help the defense at all right there. They got a guy that was scheduled to be a top 15 pick. Got him in the 5th round. He's got a heart problem, but he's been cleared for that, so we'll have to see. But that's not a good thing. That doesn't. You really gonna cry about the 1st round? Let me see. How about the edge rusher? Key. He was before 2017, when he had a bad year last year. He had an injury. He put on some weight. Before that, he was the number 1 ranked prospect in the draft. Did you hear me right? He was the number 1 draft pick. This was a future consideration because he was He was his sophomore. This was after his sophomore season. We had like 12 sacks. He was the number 1 ranked player. He was expected to go number 1 overall. Yeah. So you consider all that and do your research on zone blocking and pin and pull techniques, and then formulate your opinion about the Raiders draft. They're moving in a different direction. Maybe it'll be a good direction. But there's a process involved here, and we are not in control of it. So we have to sit back and be entertained. And we're not going to be entertained for a long time. So I've given you some homework to look up these techniques. Look how they were used in 2016 and when Cable used them. He used them on the Raiders with Darren McFadden. He also used them on Seattle with Marshawn Lynch. So, there you go. Just trying to help.